Good afternoon, Facebook. Thank you all for joining us as we are going to kick off our 5th Facebook Live Q&A with featuring small business innovators. What a privilege it is today to be joined by two small business innovators, one being our sponsor, with Jay Brown with Jay Brown Realtors, and then also my special guest today, Regina Stiltner. She's the founder of Splentique in downtown Hickory. So we're going to hear from her in just a minute. But first, I'd love to turn it over to Jay Brown. So Jay is, like I said, the founder and owner of Jay Brown Realtors, and he is our sponsor. He helped us kick off this series and has been a tremendous supporter of what this has become, and is a great partner and friend. So Jay, thank you for joining us again today.
Hey, Lindsay. Hey, Facebook. Hey, Regina. It's good to be back. I'm excited today. We get to hear from Regina from Splentique. Lots of good stuff in store. Just ready to kick this off and hear from her. But thank you again for Lindsay for having us back. And we're excited to do today's show.
Thanks, Jay. Again, I appreciate you joining us twice a week as we've done this Facebook Live series. And again, thank you for your sponsorship and your partnership. If we haven't had the opportunity to meet before, viewers, I'm Lindsay Keisler. I'm president and CEO of the Chamber of Catawba County. And it truly is a privilege to get to do this series and interview some people that I've really had a chance to get to know over the last several years and put them in the spotlight so that you can be inspired by the things that they are doing to pivot and shift to respond to what's happened over the last several weeks. So that's what this is all about. We are featuring small business innovators. These are individuals that, like I mentioned, since March, since all of our worlds were disrupted by COVID-19, they maybe paused for just a moment, and then they shifted and pivoted in order to create value for their customers. And today I have the privilege, as I mentioned before, to feature one of those, Regina Stiltner, the founder of Splentique. But first, I want to encourage you to engage with us. So as you've noticed, if you've joined us live for the past 2 weeks, we have had quite the viewership. You guys have been so wonderful and so generous to us. And I'll steal a quote that I hear Regina say every week: sharing is caring. So if you've joined her live on her Facebook sales, she says sharing is caring. It truly is. So I want to make sure that those that need to see this video do. So if you don't mind, click that little share button for this video so that we can make sure we reach as many people as possible. Also, if you can hear me loud and clear, I want you to give us some likes, some hearts, and even maybe some wow faces, just so that we can test our volume and so that we can test comments, because we would love for you to ask a question of Regina or make a comment to help to see if you agree. I've got my phone here. I'm going to go ahead and share the live feed, and I am going to make sure that the comments work. So if you don't mind throwing out a comment to us, where are you watching this from? Throw a comment. Are you watching it from home? Are you still working remotely? Are you in your office? Maybe you want to share where you live. We've had viewers from other states to join us for these live interviews. So if you're in another state, you're in another town, a county, share by throwing in a comment, and that also helps us to ensure that other people can see, or that we can see your comments so that we can engage, or I can weave those into our conversation with Regina today. So I'm going to give you just a second to make a comment, because we do have viewers. So thank you to those that have hopped on. And it does look like comments are coming through. So I'm going to go ahead and share the feed, and then we'll get going. we'll get going. So again, thank you for engaging with us. Thanks for sharing. If you want to start a watch party, that's another great way to support us, but we really and truly appreciate it. Now, let me get into introducing my special guest. So Regina Stiltner, a little bit about Regina, and then you'll get to know her with our rapid fire Q&A. But Regina considers herself to be a multifaceted strategic retail leader. She has been able to use her 20 plus years of acquired retail experience with large to mid-level brands to help launch her own omni-channel brand. She loves her community, you all. She loves her community, and it's evidenced by her participation and her engagement. She feels that the people are the heartbeat of this town, and in the town she's referring to is Hickory. She's a board member of the Hickory Downtown Development Association, and she puts the success of downtown Hickory in the forefront of many of her decisions, personally and professionally. She says she believes in community pride, shopping local everything, and of course, being your own definition of beautiful. Regina, thank you for joining me today.
Oh, thank you for having me, Lindsay. And Jay.
Yes. So, all right. We've done this to kick off each of our Facebook Lives, and it's a rapid fire Q&A. So I've got a list of random questions so that everybody can get to know you a little bit better. And we're going to have a little bit of fun and might hopefully not throw you too many curveballs. Are you ready?
Sounds fun. I'm ready, I think.
All right. Okay, first, what was your first job?
Babysitting.
What's the best thing about Catawba County?
The people.
Do you have a charity or cause that you wish more people knew about?
So you guys have to Google this. I know it's rapid fire, but you have to check out Hearts and Hope. They do some amazing things in our community for sure. You got to check them out, Hearts and Hope.
Yes, the Sigmund family. I know them personally, and they're incredible people. Definitely check that out. I second that. What's your ideal vacation spot, Regina?
Honestly, Lindsay, anything coastal. If I can be near an ocean, I'm good to go.
I'm with you. What have you seen lately that's made you smile?
My husband sends me all of these adorable like baby animal memes and photos. So daily I get these updates of baby animals. Baby dolphin was the last one that made me smile.
A baby dolphin. That would make anyone smile. That's adorable that your husband does that. All right. So when you're not in your boutique, where can we most likely find you?
Chasing a 3-year-old little boy. So my son.
Oh, love it. What is one item in your wardrobe that you can't live without?
I'm actually wearing it today. It's my black blazer. Definitely my go-to item.
Awesome. This is a little random, but also fun. How do you prefer your eggs?
I prefer them when my husband makes them, and we call them Stiltner eggs. They're scrambled, and he has his own little special approach.
What's the special approach? Does he add a little cheese
So
or something?
he adds sour cream to it. He does not actually beat the eggs. Like, he did a lot of extensive research to figure out how to make the best scrambled eggs. But it's quite the science behind it. But sour cream, I think, is the secret ingredient.
The Stiltner effect. I like it. All right. What's your favorite title that you hold?
Mom, for sure. I'm sure you can relate to that.
I can definitely relate. Early bird or night owl?
Night owl, for sure.
Regina, what's one thing that you're most proud of?
I know I keep going to, family, but honestly, I would say it's chasing my dreams while chasing children. Not an easy thing to do.
That is definitely not an easy thing to do. But you do it so well with grace. Who is another business owner that you admire?
So large scale, like global, Danny Meyer. It's a great restaurateur, owns Gramercy Tavern, started Shake Shack. And then locally, another restaurateur, Jason Yates. I think he's pretty amazing too.
I agree. Podcasts, books, or both?
Both.
What was the last podcast you listened to?
I'm not going to give you the specifics. It was political. I like to go to both sides just to hear like the different perspectives. But that's kind of my go-to.
Nice. If you were famous, what would you be famous for?
Well, I wish I could be famous for being a great dancer. I love to dance. That's what I would wish to be famous for. But probably if I were to become famous, it would be as a designer.
What one word would you use to describe entrepreneurship?
Tenacity.
Tenacity. And that is the grit and digging in to whatever's in front of you. I've certainly witnessed you do that. And I've also heard a little bit about your vision and your dreams for your business. And hopefully we can get into a little bit of that today. But this is all about innovation, and the questions that we have prepared really help the viewers understand that, you know, what is in the mind of an entrepreneur when they meet a barrier in the road. You have choices, right? You can either, be paralyzed by that, or you can pivot and move around it. And I've witnessed you do this, and I can't wait for the viewers to hear. So first of all, just to start off our conversation, Regina, tell everyone about Splentique. What is Splentique, and tell us about your brand?
So Splentique, we have a storefront here in downtown Hickory. So we are a fashion, and I call us a lifestyle boutique because we have a little something that touches each part of your life. We also have an online presence, but I started the company, it's been almost 3 years ago, and my vision was for it to be more of an online presence, an online boutique. And I quickly learned that I didn't know enough about e-commerce and online selling at that point in time to launch it successfully. So I had to pull from, my past experience, which is mainly in brick and mortar retail, right? I started thinking, what do I actually know, and what can I pull from with this? And I do know customer facing retail. So I started doing in-home parties at my house. That's how Splentique actually launched. It's kind of funny to think back to it. I still have customers who shopped with me in my living room, right? Who shop with me in the boutique. And it just evolved from there. I have to give thanks to my husband because when we had the in-home parties and my inventory kept growing and growing, he's the one that recommended, Regina, why don't you find something, to actually store the product so we can eat dinner at the dinner table again. And then also, so you can have that customer interaction that you love. So that's really how it started. We launched our first store in downtown Hickory in November 2018. I made a move up to Union Square last year, and here we are. I know a lot more about e-commerce and online selling, and I've learned and evolved from all of that. But it's so funny to think that that's where it started, and then how it's evolved to this point.
Prior to jumping into entrepreneurship, from your, prior to your living room, right? When you first visioned this idea of your own brand, you had quite the experience in retail. And your bio is 20 plus years of experience. And I know a lot of that was with some major retailers and major brands. And so what about your previous career helped you prepare for where you are now? And maybe you answer it from a pre-COVID-19 and then also from a post-COVID-19 to prepare you for the past 8 to 10 weeks.
Right. So I feel like I've had pretty all-encompassing experience. I've had experience running retail stores, like face-to-face experience as a district leader, running multiple stores. I've also spent some time in HR, writing sales training programs and staffing essential guides. I think the experience that was most relevant for me was I spent some time as the director of visual merchandising for a junior retailer. They had about 300 stores. And when I took that role, it was a little bit of crisis management at that time. So it was a time when malls, you started seeing the decline of retail in junior retail, most specifically. A lot of different retailers were going out of business. And basically my job, Lindsay, was to sit with the buying team every week to take a look at new arrivals, to give those stores direction as to where to place those items, to do window schematics, store set layouts, and then to analyze, did we do a good job? Did the buyers buy the right product? And did I and my team give the right visual direction to move that product? So that gave me the most experience when you think about, well, buying product. As I'm launching my brand, you know, I had some experience behind that. What to buy, basics are huge. Just so that was huge for me. And then post COVID-19, I had to go into crisis management mode, right? Which is what I did in that role, to be honest with you, because business was tough there. You know, every decision that we made was critical. I mean, it was critical to sell the product and to move through it, to keep the brand moving forward in a positive direction. And for my own small business, you know, when we found out that we were going to be shutting down the store, you know, I had to think, okay, what products are coming in? What do I put a halt to? What are people going to buy? What existing merchandise do I have that they would like to buy? So, you know, that was really, really critical for me. You know, having that experience and really thinking about the art and science, because there's been a lot of that with COVID, a lot of data analysis, a lot of trial and error. So I'd say the visual merchandising, that role was probably what most prepared me for this.
Regina, I love how you described it as art and science. That's the first I've ever heard really this whole pivot being referred to it in that way. And it's so true. So from an art perspective, you've got to think of communications and marketing and messaging, right? There's an art to that. But then at the same time, science, it's the metrics and the myths and the analysis and asking those hard questions that all business owners have had to ask in many different ways, depending upon how this has, how the crisis has hit them. Right. So really, really, really interesting. Thank you for that. We have a viewer on Facebook that said, great choice by having Regina on today. She's fantastic, and her store is definitely a great spot locally to shop with amazing customer service. So clearly, yes. So clearly, from an art and science perspective, you have really mastered definitely the art of it, and I know from a you've also looked at the science. But what about other businesses? What are you seeing? I know you're networked, you're extremely engaged and involved, and you also do a really good job of supporting others around you. So what are you seeing other businesses doing that you admire? And how have you been able to use what they're doing to apply it to your own?
Great question. So I've seen some really great things happening in our community. Some things that stood out to me immediately were some of the take and make kits that were happening with, let's say, Biscuit Beads, for example, and then also Gina with Nailed It. You know, I thought it was just so innovative. Them knowing that people were going to be at home and they were going to be at home with their children, you know, how could they engage them and make their products part of the in-home experience? So that was inspiring to me. I took that and applied that into bundles that people could get. So you know, whether it was a beauty bundle or a safety bundle, things that I had in the store that I thought maybe, you know, could apply to them being at home and, you know, being comforted or to put a smile on their face. So that's how I applied it to my business. I was inspired and then applied that. Another thing that I saw, and this is really what sparked it, Artisan Soaps here in downtown Hickory, she makes a product that was in high demand, and she partnered with a different business. And, because of that, she was able to supply the community with hand sanitizer, which is something that they needed. And it just got my wheels turning. It's like, what do people need right now? How can I fulfill that need? What might they want in the future? But I was definitely inspired by Katie at Artisan Soaps. But it was just interesting that even Carolina Crafted in downtown Hickory, it was interesting to see them with their candles, and people were buying them in bulk, and they also started making hand sanitizer. So the restaurants, to see them, what they're doing with curbside pickup, the wine shop, and how they were able to adapt, and the things that they were doing for Mother's Day, to market to mom. It's just, I've been inspired by so many of my neighbors. It's been great to see.
Yes, and I too have been inspired to see how businesses have changed. And, I think that's often a misconception. I think some people assume that business owners only care about the 8 foot of sidewalk in front of their business, right? They only care about what's in it for me. And just to hear you describe a play-by-play of what everyone's doing around you completely debunks that thought that someone could ever have. And the fact that I know you all working together to help cross promote and assist one another in making these decisions to be able to continue to make a living and provide a livelihood for not only yourselves, but also to your employees. Extremely inspiring. What has been your biggest learning experience with all this?
Well, it was some self-analysis and just a little bit of self-awareness. My biggest learning experience was really thinking about, why do people shop with me? And why do they shop with other small businesses or other businesses in general? Okay. So for me, it was the reflection of, how do I communicate with my customers in a way that's authentic and give them virtually what they would seek out in the in-store experience? And I probably learned the most from approaching my Facebook style events, my live style events, a little bit differently. I went back and, honestly, Lindsay, I had not hosted pre-COVID. I had not done a Facebook live style event since October of last year, sadly enough, right? It was something that, I used to do once a month, once every couple of months. There was no real consistency. And then I watched the videos, and what I found is I wanted to take a different approach post-COVID, right? Or during COVID. So my live sales became much more conversational. It was about having a conversation with the customer. So as people Are you still on?
Regina, I think we're having a little bit of internet issues here.
No.
Oh, I think we're back. So you were saying, you were talking about the experience of your live sales and how you really evaluated having a conversation, making it be engaging in two-way, because people were craving that, right? Being at home, sitting on their sofa. So you continue on. It was really good.
Thank you. So back to why do I think people like to shop Splentique? I think they do it for the relationship, for the sense of community, for the fact that my team and I know this is how this item fits, what is happening in your life. We want to help you find things that are relevant for you, and it's more authentic. And what I found is, as I approached my live sales in a more authentic way, it worked better for myself and for my customers. There's a lot of ways to get to your sales plan. If you can't do it through a lot of interactions, maybe do it through quality interactions. So what I found is, I didn't have as many transactions coming through the register, right? But instead of it maybe being an average sale of $40, it spiked to $90.
Wow.
So for me, that was the learning experience. And as I did go back and watch the live videos before, what I was doing last year is I was talking at people. I wasn't talking to them. It wasn't a two-way conversation. And some retailers that may work. That's the thing. You have to really think about your business model and what you mean to your customers. So if your customer is super transactional, she's fast fashion, she just wants to buy the items, you need to go through your product quickly, right? And she needs to be able to claim that. If your customer is more about the experience and you are part of that, slow down, take some time, message with them, make it personal, but you have to understand why people shop with you. And that takes self-reflection and maybe reaching out and just saying, you know, I love that you love shopping with me. What's your favorite part about the experience that you have? If they say, you have tons of new styles and I love to see all of them, then that's what you give them. If they say, I just love you, that's what you give them. So that was my biggest learning. Just reflecting on that, defining it, and then giving that experience to my customer in the best way I could.
So good. Viewers, I hope that you're taking notes because this is incredible. And this can be applied to any business, right? Any business. She is a master in retail, but when it comes to business, it's identifying who you are, what value you offer. And when I say who you are, it's about your brand, right? It's about your personality. It's about your messaging. It's about how you come across and everything that you do. And what you're hearing Regina talk about is exactly what any business needs to do, in crisis or not, right? Understanding who you are and then executing, understanding your customer and what they want, what they value, and not just what they want to buy, but what are the psychographics what are the things they value? What are the things they care about? What do they like to do? And then how can you then customize your product mix to meet that? And then executing on that experience. Regina, that was so good. I hope you guys heard that. And if you need to replay, you replay that and you listen to it several times because that is really good stuff. I commend you for the work and how insightful you've been to truly evaluate that experience so that you can then continue to apply it going forward. So speaking of, how are you going to apply what you've learned to your business going forward after COVID, after, you can continue to welcome customers in your store? What are you going to apply going forward?
So I'm approaching it somewhat slowly, the reopen process, right? So I'm really thinking through that. I am going to designate at least a day, if not several days, for a more personalized in-store experience. And I'm definitely going to continue with the virtual experience. So one thing that I'll continue with is a weekly or bi-weekly Facebook style session or sale, right? Style out. I'm evolving the language, right? So, so I'll continue with that. That was a game changer for me. The other thing is, having that designated in-store time where people can reserve the store to come in and have more of like a concierge experience. I actually updated my website to offer that. So you can link in and sign up for an in-store style appointment. I'm doing at-home style appointments. And then you can also do a virtual style appointment. That can be with yourself or it can be with a small group of friends. We are definitely doing some things here to make sure that you guys are safe in store. But we are offering that experience, and it's something that you can do at splentique.net. It's right there on the homepage. You can check it out. There's more description around that. So definitely want to do that. For sure. The other thing I'll continue with, and I forgot to give you guys this little tidbit, when you do a virtual party or really anything, when I used to speak in front of people, I would bring like a cheering section. I do that for almost anything that I do virtually. So everyone has a small group of people or a large group of people that really love them and care for them. And my mom hops on, my niece hops on, my sister hops on. a few close friends, they hop on and they encourage me and they talk to me and they get people feeling comfortable doing that. So just think about your tribe and the people that surround you. But yes, I'm offering some fun virtual style outs, and I'll continue with my style parties and my tribe.
That's a really, really good tip as well. I know many business owners that have relied on physical interactions, and the chamber would be very, very included in that. Transitioning to a virtual where everyone is either just burnt out with Zoom, right? Or their social media out, how to continue to personalize an experience through a screen. And so I love the idea of having a tribe that you invite on that helps, ignite that interaction. We have a viewer that said her takeaway from your story is really understanding why your customers buy from you. And it sounds that you, Regina, have asked them, right? How else have you determined how your customers buy from you? If you give the viewers a little bit more information around that.
Well, part of my vision was to not be a fast fashion retailer. It is very deliberate. For me, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. That's okay. But for me, I've always wanted it to be about the relationship. Always, right? That's what I would talk to my team about. Who is she? Tell me about her. Tell me about her experiences. So that's a huge part of it. Reflecting back, reading the reviews that people have given us, it's just, what is the customer saying about me? Whether it's through a review, what was my initial vision? Did it come to life? So I asked them about that. And, that's how I've been able to really define it and reflect on it. And you have to think, what are you going after? If you're a business owner, are you going after price? That's a dangerous place to be, but is that what you're doing? Are you going after, huge quantities of folks? Are you going after, what are you going after? Just think through what you would define as success, and then think through how your customers are currently defining you, and then figure out how to make those two meet.
So speaking of that connection, what service or communication has achieved the most positive response from your customers?
I would say the Facebook events, Lindsay. I really would, and in partnership with that, offering some above and beyond communication. It's like a personal style out. It's like a subscription box, but you actually know the stylist. So I think it's me sending pictures of things that maybe I didn't show. It's me personalizing it and making it as specific to that person and that interaction as possible. They have been so responsive to it. I've gotten to know my customers even better than I did in store. We're becoming personal Facebook friends. I mean, we're texting, things that I would do to a certain degree before, but now it's all the time, and I'm having fun. We're having a good time getting to know each other better.
And for those viewers that haven't had this firsthand experience with Regina and what she's referring to, I have. Right. So I've said, Regina, I have a family photo shoot coming up, for family pictures. I need something. And she'll say, oh, this would be great on you. And she'll send me a picture or text me a picture. Or, hey, I like that, but what size do I need? I mean, having someone that knows what size you need, talk about a really personal experience. You've definitely nailed it. So I commend you for who you are and what you do. All right, in closing, Regina, long-term, so you have reopened your store, you're welcoming customers back, you're looking at creating more personalized, even in-home styling sessions, which is extremely appealing to someone like me who doesn't like to shop and is super busy in balancing life and work. But what else? What else are you looking forward to in terms of your vision for Splentique?
I have two things that I'm most specifically looking forward to. One is, how do I take what I'm doing and how do I hire to that and duplicate that for a team member, right? So what could that look like? How do I duplicate this? Because I'm not going to be able to, I mean, at some point in time, I can only handle so much of that and so many clients, right? So how do I duplicate that for others? That's at the top of my mind. I mean, that's my number one goal. How do I do this and duplicate it? And then second is, for me, you know, and a lot of other retailers, supply chain is disrupted to a certain degree, right? So I'm thinking about, how do I continue to supply my store with things that are relevant for my consumer, and what will continue to be relevant. I'm looking at, you know, more made local product, more product made in the US. I'm looking at actual product development. I've always had that as a dream. You know, how do I do private label Splentique? How do I design some of those wardrobe staples? Who do I partner with to make that happen domestically, as close as I can get it? No better time than the present to start bringing that to life. So those are two big focuses for me, you know, as I go forward. And I think if I can nail those two things, the sky is the limit for what we can actually do.
I agree. I love your vision, and I look forward to helping you and come alongside of you in achieving that dream, Regina. I want to thank you for allowing me to interview you today. What a privilege this has been. You have certainly given our viewers some things to think about, and certainly some things to apply as they look to be innovative and lean forward into recovery to make us stronger on the other side of this. If you watched this video and you've enjoyed it, and you feel that someone else could be inspired by it, I encourage you, would you share this video? Also, if you've enjoyed anything that you've heard today, give us some likes and hearts. Give some likes and hearts to Regina, because she's been an incredible voice of wisdom. And again, so Regina, thank you. Thanks for being here. I really do appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks so much, guys.
And I want to remind you before we sign off that we have another Facebook Live this Thursday. So we are going to be on at 1 o'clock. So 1 o'clock instead of 2 o'clock this Thursday. I am pleased to be joined by Scott Regenbogen with Regenbogen Studios as my guest. Again, I want to say thank you to Jay Brown with Jay Brown Realtors and their whole team for helping sponsor this series in May. Again, Regina, thank you, and we will sign off.